ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true.
Supervisor Bronson.
Mr. Chairman, concurrent Arizona Senate Resolution 1001 is ratifying the amendment to the Equal Rights Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, providing equal rights for men and women. This is a concurrent resolution of the Senate, so I will move item 2 in resolution number 2020-5.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Christy.
I read this resolution and I thought I was in a time warp back in college, because this is when I first remember it being brought forth. And if I recall, there was a 1982 deadline involved with it. But be that as it may, to speak directly to the resolution, if you look at any of the latest newspapers or news sources, it's universally accepted that the fortunes of women in the labor market will determine the overall outcomes of the labor market, because they will be the predominant share. The headlines in the recent Wall Street Journal say that women outnumbered men in the workforce in December. So obviously there is absolutely zero discrimination being inflicted upon women in the workforce. The wording in the original Constitution seems pretty inclusive: for all people, liberty and justice for all, equal justice under the of all. And if there was such outrage as far as any kind of discrimination or issues of that, there are many lawyers that have in the past taken up that cause and have made sure that those issues are rectified and that justice has been served. Women also have the opportunity to vote with their feet. If one employer doesn't pay what that job is worth, they can certainly go to a number of other employers for better pay. I look at this in two ways. One, as a solution looking for a problem, and secondly, that this is another example of the resolutions that have come before this board that will have absolutely no effect for their intended use, have really nothing at this particular point to do with Pima County business, and I will be obviously voting against this resolution.
Well, that's fine, Supervisor, and it's interesting you quote those words of the Constitution that was written in the 1700s. At the time, there were millions of people that were slaves that did not have equal protection under law. So there was a little bit of issues there with discrimination, and unfortunately, that situation continues. And fortunately, we have passed civil rights laws in this country and amended them several times over, and added to them with the Voting Rights Law and with the American Disabilities Act and with the Housing Discrimination Law of 1968 to try and protect people's interests. And the E.R.A. is just, it's about time. I know my mother supported it. I know my wife supports it. I know my daughter supports it. And they explain to me every day how sometimes I say really stupid things, but I can see I'm not alone.
Mr. Chairman?
Please, Supervisor Miller.
I agree with Supervisor Christy that the window did close on this. I think it was a 10-year window to approve the Equal Rights Amendment. And I agree there are a lot of women in the workforce, but I don't agree that women are treated equally. It's proven, the data shows that women still aren't compensated the same as men in many, many areas. And so as a result of that, I know this isn't going to get this open back up. I do hope they do open this back up. But right now it is, it's largely symbolic, but I think it might be a push to get it opened up. So I will be supporting it. Being a woman, and I know how we've been not compensated fairly relative to men, and that's still a problem. It hasn't been rectified 100%. And the comment you made about having to hire an attorney, many women who are in these roles can't afford to hire an attorney to represent them, so it puts them at a disadvantage. And I applaud Supervisor Bronson for putting this on.
Mr. Chairman, all I can say is that it had no traction some 30 years ago, and I don't see it gaining any traction at this point either, and that it's a superfluous effort. Again, something that I think there are many remedies for that don't necessarily have to have a resolution that will have no effect of its purpose. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this did in fact have traction. I believe it took 38 states to ratify, and there were, what was it, there were one vote away?
We're at 37 right now. Yeah.
They were one vote away. So, and I do know that other states have come back and wanted to remove their support, but they were one vote away. So there was huge support for it. I think it's important to let everyone know that women should be treated equally. Thank you.
Okay, roll call.
Supervisor Bronson?
Aye.
Supervisor Christy?
No?
Supervisor Miller?
Yes.
Supervisor Valadez?
Aye.
Chairman Elias?
Aye, aye, aye. Motion carries 4-1.
Supervisor, or
Very
Chairman
proud of you,
Elias.
Supervisor Bronson, for putting this on the agenda.
No, and thank you. And I want to commend my colleague, Supervisor Miller, for her vote. It may be symbolic, but sometimes symbolism matters.